Victoria Greene is with us, founding partner, portfolio manager, G Square Private Wealth. It's great to see you, Victoria. Wanted to get your feel on the markets. I know that some of the economic news has been very tough. The question is whether or not more bad news is factored in or if we hit the bottom. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I definitely think we still have a little further down to go. I feel like this rally right now is more on hope and animal spirits than it necessarily is on fundamentals. You kind of have this battle between data and hope of change. And I really feel as much as we're moving forward and we're seeing progress on testing, it's going to be a little harder to open back up than we think it's going to be. So generally, we think it's a high probability we retest. But overall, we're looking to buy on the retest. I don't think this is the end of the world.
Yeah, later I want to get to your stock picks, but just so I have a broader understanding, I know you've been combing through some of the earnings so far. A lot of the companies have been withdrawing their guidance. What do you think we should expect from this earnings season?
I honestly think you're looking at a little bit of bloodbath. I think you're seeing a very rapid repricing. So what we want to see is you've seen Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, and some of the staples come in with decent numbers. Wouldn't be surprised if the Walmarts and the Krogers of the world are also going to do well. But you also had Rite Aid come in and kind of miss a little bit. I think you can't underestimate the hard stop we put on this economy and the pressure that's going to put on companies to increase their earnings or at least minimize a loss of earnings. So generally, we think that you can't underestimate the amount of pressure that's going to be on these companies and how quickly they're going to be able to recover. It's going to take a little bit longer, and especially some of the more cyclical sectors, it's definitely going to take a little longer to get back to where we were. So overall, we're pretty bearish on where we're going to see earnings come in. You've definitely seen expectations / guidance pushed. So overall, we think it's going to be a bit worse than really where this market's pricing it.
Right, I see. Okay. But IBM, you say, is a name to watch, right? And the company's reporting next week. Your thoughts on a name like IBM?
Yeah, so the reason I like IBM, I know it's a little bit of an out of consensus tech name, right? Microsoft, Google, Amazon, those guys are the big leaders. And the reason I recommend Microsoft isn't necessarily where it was, but what we think it's going to be in a few years. If you look at the multiple, it's trading at right around 9 times earnings, the acquisition of Red Hat, the very strong cash flows they have. And then you really can't underestimate the future of this company under a new CEO. Typically, he came from the cloud-based side, and cloud-based is where they're going to see this growth in revenue. So we look at this, we say, great, a new CEO, a cloud-based CEO, he's going to be able to push the company forward. And if it takes a little bit longer, I'm not expecting the stock to, go up 50% in the next 3 months, but we're getting paid a great yield, almost a 5.5%, very secure yield. Bloomberg even puts it that this yield could increase when they could increase dividends. So I've got a quality stock, I've got a great sector, cloud computing, and then don't underestimate AI and Watson. They're a huge player in AI, and I know that's kind of taken a back burner, but that's going to be a very big catalyst over the next 10 years.
So wait, that summation, because you sort of incorporated both IBM and Microsoft in there. So you like IBM, Microsoft, also Amazon and Google, right?
Yeah, but the reason I recommended IBM is I think Microsoft's expensive. I love Microsoft, don't get me wrong. I think it's great. It's one of the big drivers behind the S&P's performance. But I think IBM's much more reasonably priced with a little bit more upside.
And tell me about Amazon. I know that's one of your names, and Google.
Well, I mean, I personally can't live without it. So I definitely think it should be reclassified as, an essential service to everything almost. So we all get so much from Amazon, but they're web-based, Amazon hosting. I love Amazon. They're just expensive. And I think if you own Amazon, you should hold it. If you want to add to Amazon at this price, not so much.
Are you worried about Google and some of the regulation and those kinds of things that they've faced globally, or do you still just think it's positioned so well for growth in the next, year, decade? What's your outlook?
No, I think obviously regulation and regulation risk is a huge problem, but I think Amazon's got a great team behind it. I think their legal team and the way they approach entering into new markets does well. I mean, they do have competition. Look, Walmart has online 2-day delivery. There are competitions to Amazon, so I think any antitrust considerations or things like that, that's not a risk in my opinion, because they do generally have competition across this marketplace.
Yeah, I know you mentioned Google. We have all the FANG stocks up here right now, Apple being the best of the bunch. I know Google was one that you had on your radar. Last thought, final thought, Victoria.
Well, I mean, Google is fairly essential. And again, they go beyond just the fact that we use it every day to get around and search and find out new things. Google's company is very wide-basing, and I think they've got a lot of growth potentials. I do think potentially they're most at risk for any regulations because you could argue they don't have really a direct competitor. I know some try, but in reality, Google is very ingrained into our life and very ingrained in almost a necessity to use for maps and search. And so I think they're a fantastic stock. We definitely like them. We definitely own them. I think depending on what administration you have and how aggressive that administration is going to be, they could potentially face, in my opinion, the highest regulatory risk.
Victoria Greene, great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Founding partner, portfolio manager, G Square Private Wealth.